Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm, and welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of my January reading vlog. So it is January 9th, and I have finished one book so far this month, and that was Keeper by Kim Chance. So Keeper is an e-arc that I got off of Edelweiss or NetGalley, don't remember which, I never do, in exchange for an honest review, so thank you to the publishers for an early copy. I was excited to pick this up because I have been watching Kim Chance's AuthorTube channel. When I saw her book on NetGalley, I was really excited to request it and receive it. I was really looking forward to reading it, as I mentioned at the end of my last vlog. So Keeper is a YA paranormal or urban fantasy about a girl named Lainey who pretty early in the book discovers that she is a witch and the protector of her family's grimoire, which her mother died while trying to protect. And that's kind of where the story jumps off. The beginning of this book was really good, and I definitely was enjoying it at first, but by the time we got to the middle 50%, my enjoyment was definitely starting to wane. My enjoyment was kind of like going up at the beginning, and then kind of like flattened out, and then at the end of the book, it went straight downhill. This is really not working, but you know what I mean. It took a nosedive at the end. Let me start by just talking about a few things in the book that I did enjoy. First of all, I think Kim Chance's writing style really worked for me, like as far as like the sentences and the paragraphs, I didn't have any problems with her writing style. And the other thing that I really liked about this book was her characters, and mostly her character relationship, not the romantic one because I did not like that, but the main character Lainey has really good relationships with her two parental figures. I really appreciated that. Lainey also has a really awesome relationship with her best friend Maggie, and I think Maggie might be my favorite character out of the whole book. She was so funny and interesting. So Maggie is a super like nerdy person, more so than Lainey. She's also like really into comic books, but Maggie and Lainey are just always there for each other and supportive no matter what. I really loved their relationship. Moving on to some things that I didn't like about the book, I'd say the middle section of this book was very contemporary, which might not be bad for some people, obviously, but I don't really enjoy reading too much contemporary. Basically, Lainey finds out at the beginning of the book that she's this really powerful witch, so I imagine that the middle section of the book would focus a lot on Lainey learning to master her powers so that she can defeat this evil wizard. But what actually happens in the middle of the book is that Lainey falls in love. It was just very not what I was expecting. I was expecting a little more action. The ending of the book totally fell apart for me. I thought that a lot of the different plot things that happened were either too contrived, too convenient, or like just plain didn't make sense to me. Another big thing that bugs me is that I don't feel like it's really a standalone. Like, I was not satisfied with the resolution. It wasn't a resolution, it was a lead up to the next book. And Kim Chance has said on her channel that she's hoping book 2 of Keeper will be picked up, but I personally feel that book 1 doesn't do a good job of being a standalone at all. And the middle and the ending really took away from my enjoyment of it. So those were things that really frustrated me about the book. I struggled a little bit with the rating of this book between like a 3 and a 2-star rating. As I've been going over like my best and worst lists for 2017, I've realized that I have a tendency to rate some things 3 stars that maybe I truly felt were 2 stars. And so for 2018, I'm really trying to be a little more true to my enjoyment level of the book and rate things based on my enjoyment and try not to let how well written a story might be override that. All of that to say that I ended up giving this a 2-star rating. I do think that there are people out there who will enjoy this book. Those people are just not me. I think people who like the early Percy Jackson books and the early Cassandra Clare books could really like this book. Overall, I feel that this book was a little bit less sophisticated maybe than what I like my books to be, and my enjoyment of it was definitely 2 stars. Okay, so that is the only book that I finished so far this month. Kind of reading a lot of things at the same time. We'll see how it goes. I'll check in with you later. Hey guys, so it's it's January 18th, and I finished a second book. I know that it's really late in the month to be finishing book 2, but I spread myself a little bit thin this month and I was reading a lot of books at once. So the second book that I finished in January was Hag-seed by Margaret Atwood. This is not a book I would typically pick up or gravitate towards, but it was selected for my like work book club book, and book club met yesterday. So I finished the book yesterday, and we had a pretty good conversation about it. So just a quick summary. Hag-seed is a retelling of the Shakespeare play The Tempest. It's part of the Hogarth Shakespeare series, where a bunch of modern authors do modern retellings of different Shakespeare plays, and The Tempest is the one that Margaret Atwood did. So The Tempest and Hag-seed in general is basically a story of revenge, and it's about this man who has some terrible things that happen to him in his life. He's lost his wife and his daughter, so he's kind of having a rough life. He's a theater director, and some of the people that he works with betray him basically and get him fired, and then it's all about his revenge on them. I think the people who would enjoy reading this are people who like to analyze things, people who really like literary fiction, people who like Shakespeare, who like The Tempest. I think the most fun part about this book is seeing the connections between it and The Tempest. The other thing that I really enjoyed is this theater director, he gets a job at a prison. I really enjoyed seeing the way that this theater director taught the play to the prisoners. I just thought a lot of it was really smart and interesting. So from an educator standpoint, I liked that part of the book a lot, but some of the plot stuff wasn't super believable and only really made sense in the lens of this being a retelling of The Tempest. In the end, I gave it 3 stars. It was okay, it was enjoyable, but not something that I would really recommend to people unless you like to analyze The Tempest. I'm really close to finishing another book, so hopefully I can check in with you guys really soon. Bye. Hey guys, so I just got finished filming, actually refilming 2 videos because the first time I filmed them, my mic wasn't working. I got a new mic, I'm still trying to figure out how it works and what's the best way to use it. Anyway, so I had to refilm a couple videos today, and now I'm on my way home from doing that because I've mentioned before, I don't film where I live at the moment. Anyways, I'm here to update you on my reading, not to talk about that stuff. So today is January 21st, and I finally finished another book. I finished 2 books this week, which is a little bit crazy. The first half of my January was a little wonky, and like I said, I was reading multiple books at once, I had to travel, so finishing books was just not happening in the first half of the month. So let me tell you about the book that I finished last night, because it was really good. If you followed my December reading vlogs, you'll know that I started The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson way back in December, and I finally finished it. I just want to clarify that it didn't take me this long because it wasn't a good book, because it was. I was definitely having a good time reading it. Part of it was the holidays, part of it was that I was buddy reading it and I didn't want to get too far ahead of my buddy. So for various reasons, it took me a long time to read, but none of those reasons are that it wasn't a good book, because I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Brandon Sanderson is amazing at world building, which I already knew, but his magic system and his world were so good. I know that the end of the book was supposed to be super heart-wrenching, and it kind of was, but I was also kind of spoiled for something that happened at the end, so it wasn't quite as like emotionally impactful as it could have been and as I would have wanted it to be, but I was still fairly emotional. You know, a lot of people talk about The Final Empire as being a heist story, and while that is true, I also think that it might set people up for some expectations that might not be met. So when I think heist story, I think something super fast-paced and action-packed, and I think in general Brandon Sanderson's books are more of a slow build, and that's definitely the case here. I mean, there is a heist that they're sort of planning, but I would actually describe it more as a book where they're planning a revolution, which would, of course, take time to develop because it's a really big thing. Like, to me, it's like bigger than a heist because they're planning a revolution. I think that's all I have to say about like the plot of the book. I mean, so many people have talked about this book that I'm sure you've heard a lot about it before, but I did want to say that I wouldn't really describe it as being a heist novel, even though there is a heist within it, just because I feel like that would set up some unrealistic expectations. In the end, I loved The Final Empire despite taking like a month to read it. The characters, the world building, the writing, I loved everything about it. If you like high fantasy, if you like intricate world building, if you like intricate magic systems and like really structured magic, I would definitely recommend The Final Empire. I can't wait to read the rest of the Mistborn trilogy. In case any of you guys are wondering, that is a doggy car seat in the back of my car. We have only like a little over a week left in January, and I'm hoping to finish at least one more book before the end of the month. I'm not particularly close to finishing the books that I'm reading right now, but hopefully I can make it happen. I have to be honest, reading hasn't been a super high priority. Some of you might remember that I bought the video game Final Fantasy X in December, like on Christmas Eve, and that has still been taking a lot of my time. I have been making sure to play at least 2 times a week and trying to make progress on that storyline, so that has definitely taken away some of my reading time, but I'm still reading at least a little bit every night and every day, sometimes more. Like yesterday I read for like 3 hours to finish the end of the Final Empire. As long as I'm reading consistently, I don't care that I'm not reading like a whole lot or finishing a lot of books. Okay guys, so I will check in with you when/if I finish another book this month. Bye. Hello Bookworms! January is finally over. It is currently February 3rd. I actually just got done doing the first live show for the Wheel of Time read-along that I'm co-hosting with Roya from Unicorn Hunter Books. I actually meant to film this clip before I walked outside, but I forgot, and now I'm sitting in my car, and I just need to film this clip so I can post my wrap-up soon. So I finished one more book, and that was Wizard's First Rule, which is the first book in the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. So this was actually a reread for me. I read the first 3 books in this series like 4-ish years ago, probably more than that actually, maybe 5 or 6. I read them because I watched the TV show first. Anyways, Bethany from Bookish Bethany had mentioned that she was going to read Wizard's First Rule in January and kind of open it up for anybody else who wanted to buddy read it with her, and I very spontaneously decided that I did want to buddy read that with her, and so I ended up reading it with her as well as 2 other booktubers. It's Lauren from the novel Lush and Leanna from Leanna's Library. So all 4 of us read it together. Anyway, so this book wasn't completely new to me, but it's been so long since I read it that a lot of the stuff that happened I didn't remember or only seemed like vaguely familiar. And my overall thoughts are that I really enjoyed it. This book is definitely really fun, and there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of things that happen that I wouldn't necessarily expect to happen, so a lot of surprises. It's a lot of fun. The characters, I really love the characters a lot. There's a character that I really love named Zed. He's probably my favorite character out of the book/series so far. Richard is really sweet and naive, but adorable at the same time. So on the downside for this series is that it's kind of cheesy. But cheesy in a way that I don't mind for some reason. For example, Richard, the main character, literally like 5 minutes after he meets another main character, Kaylin, immediately declares that they are friends. And that comes up so many times. Like the next time he introduces Kaylin to somebody, he introduces her, "This is my friend Kaylin," and they literally just met. He places a lot of emphasis on them being friends, and it's kind of cheesy in that way. And then also at the end of the book, it definitely takes a little bit of a weird turn with some of the stuff that happens, and there's like some really weird BDSM vibes. Like, it wasn't that, but you meet some characters that sort of equate pain with love, and there's just some weird stuff going on there, but at the same time I still didn't mind it. I thought it was interesting and unexpected. I don't think that this is like the most well-written book. There are definitely things about it that I think some people wouldn't like, but from like an entertainment factor, I think it's really awesome. Fully entertained while reading this, especially the end. The way everything wraps up totally like blew my mind a little bit, and I'm definitely gonna read the next book. This is also another sort of long series. I think it's at least 10 books long, and I do hear some books in the middle of the series go a little bit weird, like more weird than this one is. But either way, like, I'm attached to the characters, and I think the world is interesting, and the plot is compelling enough that I want to continue on with it. And so yeah, I gave that book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed myself. It was a lot of fun. So now that February's over, I'll just do a quick recap. So I finished 4 books. First book that I finished was Keeper by Kim Chance, which was an e-arc that I got from NetGalley or Edelweiss. Sadly, as much as I enjoy Kim Chance as an author on her AuthorTube channel, I didn't really like the book that much. I had a lot of problems with it, and I gave it 2 stars. And then the next book I finished was Hag-seed by Margaret Atwood, which I read for a work book club. And while I thought it was interesting and kind of thought-provoking, the plot and the characters weren't quite compelling enough for me to love it, so I gave that one a 3 stars. The next book I finished was The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Mistborn original trilogy. And even though that took me like a month to read, that was more just that I was distracted and busy, not because I wasn't enjoying it, because I definitely enjoyed that book. The world building, the characters, the plot, everything about it I thought was awesome, and I gave that 5 out of 5 stars. And then I ended the month by finishing Wizard's First Rule. That one was a lot of fun, really entertaining, definitely not like a masterpiece or anything like that, but so fun, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog style wrap up. I
think I'm just going to be calling these reading vlogs from now on because that's kind of what they are. I personally would like reading vlogs to have a little more of my real life in them than just books, but if I do that for like a whole month, then I end up with too much footage. And I thought about doing these like bi-monthly or something, but when I'm only posting once a week, although I have been posting more than once a week lately, if per se I was to be posting once a week, then it's really hard to make that one video 2 times a month be this video. So I don't know, I'm still playing with it. I might do these a little more often so I can fit in more of my like real life stuff. But to be honest, because I read mostly when I'm like in bed and going to bed, I don't have that much to vlog while I'm reading, because when I'm ready for bed, I don't necessarily want to put my face on camera, much less talk to a camera. So I don't know, I'm still figuring out this reading vlog thing. Definitely leave your thoughts down in the comments and let me know what you guys like about them, what you don't like about them. That's all I have for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye.